Darcy. So I'm here today to talk about pantsing versus plotting and what I know about it. The lighting on this video is going to be weird because the sun keeps coming in and out and the window is right there. So pantsing is kind of defined as like riding by the seat of your pants. It means someone who doesn't really plan out very much of their story, prefers to kind of discovery write their way through. George R. R. Martin calls these people gardeners. So you start with like a seed, you know, and then you just kind of nurture it. And then you have plotters who outline. George R. R. Martin calls these people architects. So a plotter is someone who gives themselves a framework and then builds the story around that. Pertaining to this, I was actually watching a panel from Dragon Con. I can't remember which one it was, from a couple weeks ago, just watching it on YouTube, and they asked a bunch of authors whether they were pantsers or plotters. And one of the authors on the panel said, and it was said two different ways, which is really funny. Two different authors basically said the same thing in different ways. Like, everyone is a pantser and everyone is a plotter. It just depends on when you do them. So like, everyone has to structure their story, right? In order to have a good story, you have to know where your story beats are hitting. You have to know where those emotional moments are happening and where things are changing. And you have to have like some semblance of a plot most of the time. But your story also has to have kind of a life of its own, right? You have to be respectful of the characters as real, like, autonomous people. You can't just treat them as things and say, you will go here, because if you do that, the story isn't going to feel genuine. So most people fall somewhere along a scale of pantser versus plotter. There are some people who really like to discovery write their characters. There are others who really like to discovery write their world and just kind of figure things out as they go. I've also heard it said that pantsers are better at writing characters and having those kind of organic feeling characters. Plotters tend not to be as good at that. I know I'm not. I'm more of a plotter, and my characters are very wooden to start off with. I have to rewrite them multiple times to get them to feel real. Whereas for plotters, if you are starting with an end in mind and you know mostly what's happening on the way there, your characters might feel wooden, but you tend to have a much better structured story. I will say, keep in mind that those two things are not like hard and fast rules, or they're not true of everybody, is what I'm trying to say. I'm still learning how to do both. I'm learning how to structure my stories better. I'm also learning how to breathe more life into my characters. So whether you consider yourself a plotter or a pantser, I would recommend just kind of keeping an eye on your process and like seeing what you do and when. And if it's working for you, that's great. If it's not working for you, maybe try switching it up. And I think I want to end with this thought that whether you consider yourself a plotter or a pantser, an architect or a gardener, a discovery writer, or whatever, you don't have to put yourself in a box like that. Like, I've always considered myself an outliner, but my first drafts are horrendous. And that's not generally something common of most outliners, right? I do a lot of work up front, but most of it is not plotting, it's world building, right? And then I kind of discovery write a quick outline, and then I discovery write my story. Like, this is what I'm learning about myself after 8 years of writing. Because for so long I was in this box of I'm an outliner, you know, because I write an outline before I start drafting. I expected my first drafts to be better than they were, and that was always super frustrating for me. Because it was always like, I outlined this. Why isn't it good? It should be good. I knew what was going to happen and I wrote it. Why isn't it working? But I've kind of come to learn that it does take me multiple rewrites to make the story work. And not just rewrites, not always a rewrite. You know, I don't always have to start from scratch. Sometimes I do. But revisions, right? My books go through multiple drafts. Like, I'm not just an outliner, I'm also a discovery writer. And I literally just had that revelation while I made this video. So I hope that if you consider yourself to be in one camp or the other, maybe you'll take a step back and look at it more of like a sliding scale that you fall somewhere on, because you probably do both. Stories are meant to feel organic, but they also have to have structure. And that's kind of the dichotomy of writing. That's why it's so frustrating sometimes. Anyway, if you guys have questions about this or just want to talk through it or whatever, comment or at me on Twitter, and I will see you all next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.